Shalom, everybody. It's the Wyco Nomad, and we are going to continue with our readings of Genesis. We are in Genesis 17, and for those of you that are wondering or just curious, I read from the scriptures. This is from the Institute for Scriptural Research, the ISR. This is based on translations directly from the real source. It maintains the Hebrew and also the names, the Hebraic names. It uses Elohim, uses Yahweh. You can say Yahweh, Yahovah. We've talked about we don't get caught up in the names. That I believe is it's just a way to separate people. You can say Jesus, I prefer Yeshua, so we go with that. But let us continue with 17. And it came to be when Abram was 99 years old that Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be perfect. And I give my covenant between me and you, and shall greatly increase you. And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim spoke with him, saying, As for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you shall become a father of many nations. And no longer is your name called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, because I shall make you a father of many nations. And I shall make you exceedingly fruitful, and make nations of you, and sovereigns shall come from you. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you, and your seed after you in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be Elohim to you and your seed after you. And I shall give to you your seed, I shall give to you and your seed after you the land of your sojourning, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I shall be their Elohim. And Elohim said to Abraham, As for you, guard my covenant, and you and your seed after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you guard between me and you, and your seed after you. Every male among you is to be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall become a sign of the covenant between me and you. And a son of 8 days is circumcised by you. Every male in your generations, he who is born in your house or bought with silver from any foreigner who is not of your seed, he who is born in your house and he who is bought with your silver has to be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And an uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, his life shall be cut off. Excuse me. Let's redo 14. Sorry about that. 17:14. And an uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, his life shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And Elohim said to Abraham, As for Sarai, your wife, do not call her name Sarai, for Sarah is her name. And I shall bless her, and also give you a son by her. And I shall bless her, and she shall become nations. Sovereigns of people are to be from her. And Abraham fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, Is a child born to a man who is 100 years old, or is Sarah, who is 90 years old, to bear a child? And Abraham said to Elohim, Oh, let Ishmael live before you. And Elohim said, No, Sarah your wife is truly bearing a son to you, and you shall call his name Isaac. And I shall establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. See, I shall bless him, and I shall make him fruitful, and greatly increase him. He is to bring forth 12 princes, and I shall make him a great nation. But my covenant I establish with Isaac, whom Sarah is to bear to you at this appointed time next year. And when he had ended speaking with him, Elohim went up from Abraham, and Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all those born in his house, and all those bought with his silver, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskins that same day, as Elohim told him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised that same day, and all the men of his house born in his house or bought with silver from a foreigner were circumcised with him. And that brings us to the end of 17, and there's a couple things I want to touch upon. Well, we go to the beginning of 17, and this goes back to where we can look at ourselves. Yes, the sun is clipping me. We'll deal with it. Yes, probably the wrong time to do this, but it is what it is. We're thankful for the wonderful sun. Vitamin D. Continue with your thought. Yes, sorry. So, Abram, before he becomes Abraham, Abram was 99 years old. The last time Yahweh spoke to him, he was 75. Think about that time frame from 75 to 99. He never heard from Elohim, El Shaddai, Yahweh, Yahovah. Never spoke to him. But he carried on from 75 years old. When he was told, he followed. He did what was right in the eyes. And that goes to us. It's like, oh, well, God hasn't spoken to me, and I've asked this, and he hasn't spoken to me. Abram was 75. And then it was like something like 24 years later before Yahweh ever came back to him and said, hey, by the way, I've been watching you, you've been doing good. Are you greater than Abraham? And I'm not saying that to be mean or disrespectful, but we really demand a lot. You know, oh, shit, give me this sign, show me this. Stop. Do what is righteous. Follow God's plan. And if he talks to you, he talks to you. But I think way too many people really put way too much of an expectation. You know, we can sit there, has God spoken to you? Well, has he given you signs? I think many of us see signs all the time, but we ignore them. So we won't get into any of my conversations and stuff like that on this little topic, my conversations with Yahweh. Another thing, we talk about Ishmael. So from Ishmael, you get the Ishmaelites. Islam. Oh, and 12 princes will come out of his seed, and he will be a great nation. He just doesn't get the inheritance that goes to Isaac. And that is where we get a lot of the strife, because those that along the line of Ishmael, they believe that they're entitled to the inheritance. And that's where a lot of the trouble begins. And I'm not going to divulge or get into any of that. That's for maybe a different focus from this word. However, Yahweh promised Ishmael a nation. Many of us, when we start bloviating about the world today, we get a little, we forget that. We really do. And it creates way too much strife and division. Also, we see another thing here, which we'll touch upon later on as we go, as he tells us don't bow down to other gods, Ishtar. We're seeing that Yahweh is the master of fertility. And we're going to see a very interesting thing come on next week with Genesis 18. I want to do that one separately. I don't want to continue with it today. 18 is, I like 18 because there's some really good parts in it, and there's some really good takeaways, but we'll touch upon that next week. Let me get a sip of water here. And some other little points here. Oh, circumcision, or schism, however we want to pronounce it. Lopping off the foreskin. When it comes to that, that's a personal choice by you and your family. I know what the word says, and I'm gonna go with that. But the question is, very few people ever that really understand a deeper meaning to that. When you lop off a foreskin, there's going to be blood. That creates a blood covenant. A covenant is a contract. So what's happening here is you are signing this covenant, this contract with blood. And that's where we get the blood covenant, is coming from the lopping off of foreskins. Now, I have told very bad jokes in the past, and I'm not going to share here about lopping off foreskins. That's not righteous. I do have a bad sense of humor at times, and I try to keep it under control. But as we look at this, that blood covenant is created. And then we get, and then people like to throw in, he had slaves. Well, he bought servants. And based upon this reading, pretty sure Abraham treated them quite well. I mean, they rose up arms immediately to go save his nephew Lot. Just, let's go get him. 300 men went out, boom. That's a household. And out of that, we get so much. Yes, the planes. Hopefully it's not too distracting. Hopefully we get a little bit out of that. But everyone in his house, under his covering, and that's something that I like to use a lot. When people are at my house, they're under my covering. You don't get to bring in your other ideas. Not under my covering. Under your covering, you do what you do. And if I find it not righteous enough, I'll get up and leave. But the important thing is, as men, we have to understand those under us, biblical manhood, those under our covering, we take care of them. Not with an iron fist, but we take care of them. And we'll touch upon more biblical manhood later on. But with that, thank you once again for listening in on the reading of Genesis 17. As always, shalom, blessings, and may the Father shine his face upon you. And I want every one of you to have a wonderful rest of the week. Have a wonderful, restful Shabbat. We are in the day of prep right now, so we are getting things ready for sundown for Shabbat, where I'm going to be truly relaxing. But with that, shalom, everybody. Until next week. Thank you again.